Tonight, fire crews warn of a spike in arson. Disappointing crowd numbers for Mackay's NRL clash. The electrical incidents plaguing the cane industry. And NAIDOC Week celebrations get off to a flying start.
Across Mackay, the Whitsundays and the Coalfields with Rob Brough. This is 7 Local News.
Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us. Well, police believe arsonists may be to blame for a North Mackay house fire over the weekend. It's a worrying trend for firefighters who say there have been many other fires deliberately lit over the last 2 weeks. At this stage, it's unclear if the incidents are connected.
Forensic officers were investigating the Forgan Street property this morning. The fire started in the laundry area at the back of the house.
Really thick, really thick. At one stage, one of the firemen came over to me and said if it changes, the wind changes, to get away from the smoke.
The building was rapidly searched by our crews, and then the fire was brought under control in a relatively short period of time, the main part of the fire, but it had actually spread into the ceiling space.
The house was empty because it's up for sale. Police say it may have been deliberately lit.
Because of some of the damage, we're still investigating whether it was forced entry. It's hard to tell with the damage caused by the fire.
It's not the only one under investigation. 7 different fires have been reported roadside along the Brough Highway in the last 2 weeks, between the Leap and Cuttable, backing onto farms, caneland and grazing areas, sparking calls from rural firefighters for information.
The hard part with that is because it's, there's some people not living in that area. If a fire gets up and going, it can be quite threatening.
If you have any information about any of these incidents, please contact Crime Stoppers or the Mackay Police.
And try and encourage people to do the right thing, apply for permits, do some hazard reduction burns, and we'll hopefully protect the community from any of those arson attempts.
Simon Nichols, 7 News.
A downturn in the resources sector and a late change in management are being blamed for restricting crowd numbers at yesterday's NRL game in Mackay. More than 6,000 people attended, but that's half the number that packed out last year's event.
Blue and white were the popular colour choices as Bulldogs fans of all ages flooded the gates at Virgin Australia Stadium.
Excited for the Bulldogs to win.
But they were closely followed by their opposition. One fan flew up from Newcastle just for the match.
Hoping for a win. Yep, came a fair way for it.
But there was one thing everyone agreed on, that they want the NRL to keep coming back to Mackay.
Oh, look, I think it's really important that clubs like ours and others in Sydney move games to regional centres, and Mackay's, a rugby league town. So we came here last year, we had a wonderful experience, and this week's been exactly the same.
Mackay Regional Council says despite lower than anticipated numbers, the facility easily housed everyone involved. Mayor Deirdre Comerford also met with the Bulldogs managers to try to secure a longer-term agreement. While negotiations are underway here, Mackay's southern neighbours in Rockhampton have decided it's time to host their own NRL clash, despite its facility lacking in comparison.
This is the most avid rugby league city and region in the world. If we had an NRL game here for points, it would be instantly successful.
If Mackay can do it, Rockhampton can do it better.
But rivalry aside, some people had different issues in mind. The 4th Beyond Blue Cup also gave the organisation a chance to get their message about depression out to thousands of people in regional Queensland.
Having the Bulldogs, the Knights, and famous rugby league players out there saying, no, it is okay, it's not weak. If you're struggling, put your hand up.
On the field, fans were given a close game, but it was the Newcastle Knights who came away victorious, winning 18-12. Olivia Reid, 7 News.
The Townsville 400 is wrapped up for another year, with locals and visitors alike hoping the event will return next year. Police have praised racegoers for their behaviour off track as they watch the country's best tear it up on the street circuit.
The sun shone and the crowd streamed through Reid Park.
The atmosphere is just electric. It's a really fun day.
For some, it was an all-ages affair.
It's just a good family day out, lots to do for the kids.
But for others, they were less family-focused.
The sun, the women and the smell of ethanol.
Some lucky fans were given the chance to tour the inner workings of pit lane.
It's just once in a lifetime opportunity, I guess.
Others were able to get up close and personal to their favourite drivers and machines during the iconic grid walk. And racing's perfect partner, rock and roll, pleased crowds on the Saturday night. Close to 147,000 people packed the supercar precinct over the weekend.
It's just lovely to walk through and see so many people, so many familiar faces, but so many new faces in Townsville. That's the big thing for mine, is the people coming into Townsville.
People like Cairns local David Robertson. This weekend was his 5th pilgrimage to the Townsville track.
I'm just a bit of an addict about the sport, that's all, so just adrenaline rush, I suppose, yeah.
And there was a rush of dollars to tills as well as racing fans bought into the merchandise frenzy. It's expected that more than $30 million will be generated by this weekend's event. Police have given a raving review of race attendees and motorists over the weekend. Only 5 people over the 3 days had to be dealt with by officers, and there was a significant drop in traffic infringements.
People are getting the message about what standards of behaviour and conduct are expected, and for this event it was very much a positive.
Jessica Howe, 7 News.
We've had some big events on. Now, Ergon Energy wants cane farmers to be careful when operating machinery near power lines. Now the harvest, of course, is officially underway. Last year saw a spike in harvesting electrical incidents in the Mackay region.
Harvesters will be out in force across the Mackay region until early November. Ergon Energy wants to remind operators to take care around power lines by once again pushing their Look Up and Live campaign.
Across Ergon we had 28 instances for the last year, which is a fairly high number, so we're doing our part to try and reduce that and bring the awareness here.
Out of that state figure, 7 harvesting electrical incidents were in the Mackay region, which is a massive jump from 3 recorded incidents in 2011 and 2010 and just 1 in 2009. Ergon Energy says these incidents can be easily avoided if operators keep an eye on their surroundings and don't become complacent.
Contact with the equipment onto the actual power lines and also the equipment hitting stay wires, supporting structures around it. So there's quite a number of slashing events as well. So
you never know from, especially when you're working off-site, what hazards that there's going to be. So it's always handy or important to do a risk assessment prior to starting the trial or the harvest.
High voltage power lines are even more dangerous because machine operators don't need to come into contact with them to get an electric shock. If conductive material gets too close, electricity can arc or jump.
Just actually wires to ground, you know, so that any wires to ground for us is a dangerous situation, and that's what we don't want to see.
Simon Nichols, 7 News.
NAIDOC Week celebrations have kicked off in Mackay with an official flag racing ceremony on council's lawns. Frank Cook raised a flag on behalf of Mackay's Torres Strait Islander community. He says it's a week where everyone can unite and be proud of their culture.
It's more acceptance for youth to do it, especially young kids to get up and perform in front of people. It's overwhelming, but it shows that culture can be brought out and we're proud of it.
Melanie Kemp says she hopes greater understanding of cultures will foster togetherness within the community.
Just learn and be a bit more tolerant, just learn and understand culture just a bit more and the differences and,
This year's celebrations mark 50 years since the Yirrkala bark petitions were presented to federal parliament, seeking the traditional rights and ownership of their lands. Mackay Regional Council has launched the first of its secure bike parking facilities in its bid to make the region more bicycle friendly. But one cyclist says there's still a long road ahead.
Ben Medhurst has been riding for years, but even with his experience, he hasn't always felt safe on the road.
The amount of near misses that we've had, just from motorists being smart asses, it's just unfair.
He says there needs to be better education, especially for learner drivers. There is currently a petition gaining momentum calling for motorists to give cyclists a 1 metre berth.
We are allowed to use the road, so people just need to go around, give us a wide area, give us some space, and just slow down a bit.
Safety and security were at the heart of Council's latest cycling initiative, today unveiling its first $68,000 bicycle parking facility at the Memorial Swim Centre.
You come along,
pay the pool attendant $20. You get a swipe card. You can put your bike in there. It's safe and secure the whole day. You can use the showers during the pool hours.
Bikes aren't cheap this day and age. Some of those cycles are worth somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000, and they need to know that when they're finished and at work, their bike's secure.
It's been welcomed by cyclists like Ben.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's a good initiative that encourages people to ride to work and be active.
Blue Water Quay has been earmarked as the next potential site. Anita Theodoro, 7 News.
We'll take a break in a moment. The Festival of Arts kicks off for another year, and thousands of racegoers flock to the track for the Mackay Cup.
We're Patrol tonight.
Nice having you with us. 7 local news. Well, Mackay has celebrated the start of an entertaining 16 days of music, art, dance, theatre and film. The Mackay Festival of Arts has already drawn strong crowds, starting with Mackay Sugar's Classical in the Cane Fields.
From violin strings to vocal cords, the Greenmount homestead was hitting the right notes. Hundreds of people line the lawn for 5 hours of contemporary classical music.
I'm overlooking the cane fields and the old Plaistow mill in the background. It is spectacular to behold.
Performers struck a chord with the audience.
And the whole idea of the Festival of the Arts is to have a wide variety of entertainment that covers all genres and all age groups.
At the Mech, the festival's opening night tuned into the traditional owners of the land.
We're celebrating the Sesame Centenary, the contribution of the Australian South Sea Islanders to Queensland, and in particular what they've contributed to our community here in Mackay.
Songwriter Neil Murray joined the South Sea Islander choir to sing his song My Island Home, starting a night of captivating cultural performances.
We have a collection of Mackay-based and Northern Territory-based artists. So we have the Solomon Island dancers, and they've spent a lot of time developing new costumes.
Around 300 people attended. The festival runs until July 21st. Anita Theodoro, 7 News.
And the Mackay Cup attracted more than 3,000, despite clashing with several other major events around our region. Organisers say some new features also helped to make the event successful.
The sun came out and so did the crowds.
We were here at 10:30 to make sure we got the table near the horses.
It's going well, we're having a good day. Weather's beautiful, as you can see.
It's fantastic. We're having a great day so far. We're loving it.
The cloud burned away with a bit of sun and it's turned to a fantastic day. A little bit of breeze just to cool everybody down. It's been great.
Between the racing, all eyes were on the ladies. This year it was about colour when it came to frocks and fascinators, as well as some fur. Fashions on the field was full of fierce competition with an array of blue, pink and red. But it was some personal touches that helped Dwayne Moss and Tamara Phillips take out top prize.
We went to Japan skiing in February and I bought this skirt in Harajuku and I thought I'd just work with it from there. And I had some extra material that I took off the skirt and I made Dwayne's tie.
Organisers say several new features, including a new bar area and a big screen television, helped make the day successful, particularly as it competed against several other events during the weekend.
Given what's going on not only in Mackay but everywhere else in North Queensland this weekend, so it's great. We're really happy with the numbers. They're having a great time, really enjoying themselves, and all the feedback's been positive.
Olivia Reid, 7 News.
And of course, we're all talking footy after the weekend. What a win for the Cutters over the Pride. That was terrific.
Yes, it was, Broughy. It was a brilliant derby with the right result. We'll have more footy next, including the Cowboys' collapse in Canberra, while the Knights beat the Bulldogs in a nail-biting finish in Mackay.
Meet and eat.
You're watching 7 Local News. As you heard earlier, Mackay products Dane Gagai and Neville Costigan snagged bragging rights over Bulldogs' hometown hero Ben Barber after the Knights earned a gutsy 18-12 win over Canterbury at Virgin Australia Stadium. The match ended in controversy when play continued after time was up.
The Dogs had extra plays to force extra time but couldn't capitalise on the officials' failure to hear the full-time siren.
Well, they had 2 more shots at them when the game was over.
The clock looked like it ran out sort of a couple of tackles before.
The start was just as frantic. Barber somehow didn't score with his first touch.
He hasn't quite got there.
Instead, Chris Houston's hit and spin opened the scoring before Blues utility Josh Reynolds ran the direct route.
Badiris was making a nuisance of himself, and Reynolds said, "Thanks very much, I'll use you as a shield."
Big Willie rattled the ribcage, but Badiris blew a certain try before James McManus made another plea for Origin selection.
And McManus, it's McManus!
While Barber came close again.
Tyrone Roberts stopped him with his jumper.
He was injured but carried on, and Inu's equaliser eased the pain before the Dogs hit the front just after half-time. Josh Morris pulling the Knights' pants down out wide.
He's still got his pants down, that's awful.
At least Mitch Brown won't remember after leaving the field with concussion, while Badiris went low with better effect.
Oh, Danny Badiris, the veteran.
The visitors then went to the air, and Houston's second had them 6 in front. A chaotic Canterbury couldn't find a reply. Knights coach Wayne Bennett called the win ugly, but his best with Newcastle.
That was the most significant thing that's happened to us today that since I've probably been at the club.
Well, the Mackay products were pleased to put on a show.
Yeah, it felt awesome, especially win afterwards. I haven't played here since I was juniors, and it was good to get back and play in front of family and friends.
Playing in front of the family makes it a little bit more special.
Nathan Ferguson, 7 News.
Meanwhile, the Cutters and Pride played an enthralling curtain raiser in the Q Cup. Both sides scored some superb tries, but it was the hosts who came out on top, ending the league leaders' 7-game winning streak. Mackay's 10-point win puts them second on the ladder, 3 points behind the Pride.
The Cutters closed in on the league leaders with a dazzling display at home. This scintillating try to Michael Morgan, one of many highlights for the hosts.
Going into a game against the Pride, they're on top of the table, and we really wanted to get on top of them today.
The Pride lost star fullback Hezron Merger in the warm-up, and things got worse. The Cutters scored back-to-back tries in the opening 20 minutes before Ant Mitchell made it 16-0.
Mitchell out. Away goes Anthony Mitchell! He caught them napping!
Just as it looked like the Northerners didn't turn up for the derby, the Pride powered back into it with a superb opening try.
Oh, how good's that?
The 4-pointers kept getting better after the break. Sam Obst opened up the Cutters in his own half before putting his prop away.
He gets the pass away! Oh, they've done it again, the Pride!
But Fi Lewis' sleight of hand had the host breathing easy.
Razzle-dazzle from the home team!
The visitors vented their anger as frustration boiled over before Cowboy Sam Hall landed the killer blow.
That will seal the game!
The Raiders sealed their win against the Cowboys in Canberra in the first half, racking up 18 unanswered points. North Queensland's comeback was tame, going down 26-18.
Milford straight through the middle.
The only positive was Tamo's Origin recall. Nathan Ferguson, 7 News.
And Dilago Pili has taken out this year's Mackay Cup after a well-timed finish down the straight at Urali Park. He was at the back of the field with 800 left before hitting the front at the final 200. And while the run didn't quite go to plan, jockey Justin Stanley got the outsider home.
He got to the front a bit soon. Justin came back and said, look, I should have stayed a bit longer, but he said he was travelling so good.
Last year's winner, Prussian Secret, ran 4th but broke down at the finishing post. Great game between the Knights and the Bulldogs, but I wouldn't want to have been a goal kicker.
Unless you're standing in front, you could throw it over.
The wind
How
was a problem.
The wind?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Good on you, Laura. Thanks very much. We've got the weather details in a moment with Liv. We're back soon here on 7.
Mackay, 2 Lawson Street.
G'day folks, Livio Regano with tonight's weather. Strengthening winds are the main forecasting challenge for the Central Coast region this week. The Bureau has already issued a strong wind warning for waters between Bowen and St Lawrence, with an increasing likelihood of showers. After one of the mildest weekends this winter, the mercury continues to err on the warm side, but strengthening trade winds should soon restore the temperature balance. If you look at the satellite loop, it's mostly coastal cloud at the moment, a few smudges of the darker shade, which just indicates that it's low level, a few just off the Wide Bay coast, some off the New South Wales coast. Coming up, the North Tropical Coast has had a couple of showers as well. Inland looks pretty clear. There was a little bit of sea fog over the weekend, which is most unusual. It was stretched from about St Lawrence right down through the Wide Bay, Bargara region. That seems to have cleared now as well. Today's chart, you can see that it's a fairly standard late autumn situation, even though it's the middle of winter. The highs are a little bit further north than usual, and that's allowed the wind to become more onshore. As you can see, the highs are strengthening now. We've got 1,034, and the ridge of higher pressure, judging by the spacing of the isobars along the coast, is increasing already, so winds have started to rise. On tomorrow's chart, we'll probably have a strong wind warning for all tropical waters north of about St Lawrence as the high intensifies to 1,038 and it consolidates over Victoria. That'll also bring an increase in showers to most coastal parts. And on the outlook chart, probably the high reaches peak intensity, though it starts to move out towards the Tasman Sea. Strong wind warning again for tropical waters. And now to the forecast. In coastal waters from Bowen to St Lawrence, a strong wind warning's current for southeasterly winds reaching 30 knots tomorrow, and they'll remain strong right through Wednesday and Thursday. Tomorrow's high tides in Mackay around 11:22 a.m, Hay Point 11:20, Chute Harbour 11:13. Central Coast and Whitsundays are mostly cloudy day, but only 1 or 2 light showers expected. Wednesday, Thursday, no change. Central Highlands and Caulfield, isolated showers only over northeast parts. The rest should be fine. Quite a lot of cloud on Wednesday, but continuing mostly fine. Temperatures for tomorrow, Bowen 25 degrees the top, Mackay 14 to 23, same for Claremont, Moranbah 23 as well. Mackay City forecast, generally windy through the week with the odd stray shower, nothing like wet season rain, so don't stress. One of our local viewers took this photo while visiting China's megacity, Shanghai. Fog may be a natural phenomenon, but it's greatly exacerbated by the presence of airborne pollution particles upon which water vapour readily condenses, creating what we call smog. Thanks Colin Burt for sending in that photo, and thanks everyone else for listening to me waffle about it. Back to you, Rob.
Terrific. Liv, thanks very much, mate. Lovely having a couple of you folks, and we'll see you tomorrow. Our email, localnews@7.com.au. From the team, take care. Good night.